The city lights stretched endlessly, glowing like fireflies against the night sky. Towering skyscrapers pierced the clouds, neon signs flashed with luxury brands, and expensive cars rolled down the streets like kings of the road. The city never slept, but in one corner of it stood a hotel so magnificent it seemed untouchable by time. The Grand Regency Hotel was more than just a place to stay, it was a palace for the rich. Crystal chandeliers cascaded from ceilings 3 stories high. Its lobby marble polished so clean that reflections of guests danced upon it. The air smelled faintly of roses and expensive perfumes. Soft piano music floated in the background, adding to the symphony of elegance. But that night, among the stream of wealthy travelers, one couple entered the golden doors who looked as though they had stepped out of another world. Ramesh and Mira. They were simple farmers, their faces weathered by years of sun and soil. Their clothes were neat but old, pressed with love though faded at the seams. Mira's sari had been patched in places. Ramesh's shirt bore the marks of too many washes. They did not walk with arrogance, but with a quiet dignity, heads held high, yet eyes full of wonder at the grandeur surrounding them. It was their 40th wedding anniversary, and tonight, for once, they wanted to feel like the world belonged to them too. Mira whispered nervously as her sandals tapped against the marble floor. "Ramesh, we don't belong here. Look at these people. Look at us." Ramesh gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "We belong wherever we choose to be, Mira. For 40 years, you have stood beside me through hunger, storms, and long days in the fields. Tonight we will stand here together, not as poor farmers, but as 2 souls who never gave up on each other." His words carried weight, like the soil beneath their feet back home. But before they could take another step forward, a sharp, dismissive voice sliced through the grand lobby. It was the manager. Tall, slim, polished in his perfectly tailored suit, he stood behind the marble reception counter with a look of disdain carved across his face. His eyes swept over the couple from head to toe, pausing at their worn shoes, their patched clothes, and their calloused hands. "Pay for the cheap room and leave!" he barked, his voice echoing across the lobby. Heads turned. Conversations hushed. A few guests exchanged mocking smirks. The words hung in the air like poison. Mira flinched, lowering her gaze in shame. Her grip on Ramesh's arm tightened, trembling. The manager's lip curled in disdain. "This is not a place for people like you. If you can even afford it, book the lowest room and don't linger here. Our lobby is not a public garden." Laughter erupted from a corner where a group of wealthy businessmen sat. A woman in a glittering gown whispered something to her friend, who giggled behind her hand. The humiliation was sharp, merciless, but Ramesh did not lower his eyes. His back straightened, his voice steady. "Is this," he asked softly, "how you greet all your guests?" The manager scoffed. "Guests? You think you look like our guests? Look around you, diamonds, silk, imported suits, and then you." The insult pierced the air, but Ramesh did not flinch. His gaze held calm strength. "If this moment already stirs your heart, please pause and like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. These stories are made to remind us all of the power of dignity and kindness, respect." Ramesh said slowly, his voice like steady rain on parched land, "is not stitched into a suit or hung around a neck in diamonds. Respect is what one human owes another, no matter their clothes or coins." The lobby fell silent. His words carried weight. The manager smirked, but his confidence wavered. "Spare me the lectures, old man. This is business, not charity. Money is what speaks here, and something tells me you don't have much of it." For the first time, Ramesh's lips curved into a faint smile. He reached into his faded coat and pulled out a small leather pouch, worn, its edges fraying. He opened it, and bundles of cash spilled onto the counter. Gasps filled the lobby. The businessmen sat up straighter. The women who had mocked covered their mouths in shock. "This," Ramesh said, his voice carrying, "is not wealth. This is sacrifice. 40 years of saving, penny by penny after each harvest. We plan to use it for something meaningful. And tonight, what could be more meaningful than honoring the journey that brought us here?" He pushed the money forward. It was more than enough to book the presidential suite. Mira's eyes filled with tears. "Ramesh, our savings." He turned to her gently. "Our savings were never for things. They were for moments. And this moment is ours." The manager stood frozen, his arrogance draining. His throat tightened as guilt began to surface, but before he could speak, Ramesh leaned closer, his voice low yet powerful. You see, young man, you didn't need to know what was in this pouch. All you needed was to treat us as human beings. The silence was deafening. No one laughed now. The businessman looked ashamed. The woman in the gown wiped her eyes. Even the pianist had stopped playing, his hands hovering above the keys. The couple walked past the counter hand in hand, their dignity shining brighter than the chandelier above them. From here the night unfolded like a film. As they entered their suite, Mira gasped. The room was larger than their entire farmhouse, draped in silk curtains, a bed piled with pillows, a balcony overlooking the glittering city below. She walked slowly, touching everything as if afraid it might vanish. "Ramesh," she whispered, "this feels like a dream." He smiled, watching her eyes sparkle. "It is not the room, Mira. It is us. We have carried poverty, storms, and droughts together, and tonight we carry this moment." They laughed softly, recalling their journey. The first harvest they sold together, the nights they went hungry so their children could eat, the mornings when the rising sun found them still working in the fields. Flashbacks painted the story of their love. A younger Mira, barefoot in the mud, planting rice with her hands. A younger Ramesh carrying water buckets under the scorching sun, sweat dripping into the soil. The two of them sharing half a piece of bread under a tree, smiling because they had each other. And now, 40 years later, they stood in a palace, not because the world granted them permission, but because they had earned it with every drop of sweat and every act of love. Meanwhile, in the lobby, the story of the old farmer spread like fire. Guests whispered to one another, ashamed of their earlier laughter. Some approached the manager, demanding he apologize. A wealthy businessman who had mocked the couple admitted quietly to his wife, "That old man is richer than any of us. Not in money, but in soul." By morning, the entire hotel staff treated the couple differently, not out of fear of money, but out of newfound respect. Their stay became a quiet legend within the Grand Regency, the night when an old farmer taught the world what true wealth meant. And before we end this story, let me remind you once more, if this moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Share it so more hearts can be touched by kindness and respect. When the couple finally left, hand in hand, their steps were slow but proud. The city was still buzzing, the world still chasing after coins and luxuries. But the farmer and his wife carried home something priceless. The truth that dignity cannot be bought. Respect must be given. And love is the greatest wealth of all. And that, my friends, is the lesson we must carry in our hearts. The end.